What is one memory from high school that you will never forget? The first time I cried in years. It was 2019 and I missed the school bus because I woke up late. It was a total accident and my parents just beat me and were just yelling at me for waking up late. My grades were very poor and it was just another day where no one wants to hear what I had to say. I remember just going into my bedroom for a moment and just broke down crying uncontrollably. I don't know what came over me. I almost never show negative emotion, whether it be sadness or anger. I always learn to bottle up my emotions, but at that very moment, I felt like such a waste of space. I didn't want to be in the plane of existence anymore because it felt as if nobody wanted me there to begin with, and I was such a disappointment to everyone. I just cried and cried until my dad angrily called me to hurry up and get downstairs so he can drop me off to school. I wiped my tears and I haven't cried again since. I rarely feel like that, or I at least don't allow myself to feel like that, but that very day was the only day I was pushed to the edge to such a deep hole in sadness, and it's forever ingrained in my memory because I never felt so bad in my life and I never experienced such a feeling afterward. Still in high school. I remember when they broke the news when I was in freshman year that a kid in the school died by being hit by a drunk driver. This kid, nicest kid in the school, never gave anyone an insult and never a mean cell in his body had been hit by a drunk driver and died. Yes, I was mean to this kid because I had a shitty home life and was angry and took it out on everyone. I still have a shitty home life and am still a bully because I'm pissed. Rest in peace, Marcus. I'm sorry I was mean to you. I regret it and wish I could apologize. I have a lot. One day my sophomore year of high school, one of my friends came into school with a half of grass on him. Someone snitched on him and before the principal and people got to him, he hid it somewhere in the school. He then posted on his story saying anyone who finds it can have half. That day at school all of my friends were searching for this grass. Every bathroom, every hiding spot anyone can think of had been searched. It was like a treasure hunt for the school day. All the students were trying to find it before the teachers, and the teachers were trying to find it before a student. Eventually someone did find it in the bottom of a trash can, underneath the trash bag before any dogs or teachers could find it. Sneaking out of first hour art class with some girls so we could go do it in a cornfield that was right next to the football field. Crazy Heather. The time in a class where the teacher was banging on about good grades, getting good jobs, or you will have a bad job, and my friend jumping at the chance to point at a bin man and say, like him, which made even the teacher crack up. Pooping my pants in front of a bunch of elementary school kids. That time I got detention for kissing my girlfriend at a bus stop, an hour after school let out, and 2 blocks away because the principal was a control freak and thought the school's rules applied until we got home. I remember sitting with one of my great friends. This shy and quiet girl I used to like a lot. We were talking and it came to talk about relationships as I always wondered how come she never had a boyfriend. I asked her about it and she said who would want to date me. And my mind immediately yelled, me. I was in a relationship at the time and was madly in love with my girlfriend, though I knew that had we had this talk before I got together with my girlfriend, I'd have probably made some move. She's engaged now and still is the same quiet, shy, and adventurous girl I knew. Great person. Okay, so it was a 3-month process of shaping the product, first by wood printing, then copying it onto paper with some weird goop ink being pressed down by a vise, then coloring it with watercolor, but the project ended up winning first place for printmaking even though I was positive I wasn't gonna win. Currently in high school, I am sophomore. Best memories so far is seeing 5 boys dressed as leprechauns on Purim, a Jewish holiday kinda like Halloween. Reason? Purim fell on March 17th, aka St. Patty's Day last year. Runner-up would be reading Lady Macbeth's lines in ELA this year because I love Lady Macbeth. Disturbing memory, I remember that starting at age 13 to 21 a classmate, present or past, died in an alcohol-related auto accident every year. Couple years it was 2. This is 1978 to 1986 or thereabout. My son's total was 0, same age range. We are doing something right. The guy in my high school English class who wouldn't stop complaining and whining about the class, so the teacher told him she will allow him to leave with no issue as long as it's not through the door. Now, an important factor in this is that this class was on the second floor of a third-story building, so I guess she was being a smartass. So the kid gets up, opens the window and jumps out, lands on the grass and walks away from the school. He did get in trouble for it later, but I'm still impressed by what that little effer did. When I was in elementary school in the early 80s, we used to have a huge helium balloon release each year. Everyone got a helium-filled balloon with a laminated tag attached to it that had their name and the school's address and instructions on the back for anyone who found the balloon to mail it back. The entire day was filled with parents who brought baked goods. There was a barbecue in the school square. It was a celebration. There was a competition for whose balloon traveled the furthest. Some kids tied their balloons together to give them the best chance of having their balloons travel the furthest. We all gathered together on the playground, and the signal for everyone to release their balloons was when the principal released his after making a speech on the school's roof. That day was so exciting for everyone. Throughout the year, the return tags were displayed in a huge display case against a backdrop of a map of the U.S. pinpointing where the balloons were found along with any notes provided by the people who found them. Once, my balloon made it all the way up into Canada, and the person who found it sent a wonderful letter about how they found the tag and who they were. This annual balloon release was one of my fondest memories of elementary school in the early 80s. Some kid went off campus during lunchtime to rob someone's house. Ended up getting into a police chase and car flipped, offing him. News traveled quick throughout the school and came on an announcement. 2 girls from my class freaked out, wailing, crying, for about 10 minutes up until they noticed each other and started to fist fight. He had a lot of girlfriends, it turned out. Long story short, I was made disabled in 1991 and ended up in a school for special needs kids. We were integrated with a playgroup for parents and guardians of little UNS, nursery, infants, junior, secondary, and a 6th form. So there was a canny range of ages there. I'd not long been a pupil there, around 9 or 10 months at most, when I noticed a couple of the little UNS I knew weren't in school anymore. I thought naught of it. Just gone to a new nursery or something, Nay such luck. They were dead, and my form tutor spent an entire 2 hours with me explaining that most of my school were terminal. I then had to spend the next 5 years watching my mates drop like flies, and I'm grateful for my TFL swelling that mutes my emotions, because that would be enough to cut through the heart of a psychopath. I remember the butterflies in my stomach, asking out the girl that sat behind me in class junior year. She turned me down. I kept talking to her, and her friend that sat in front of me. After a few weeks or months, I started liking her friend in front of me. So I asked her out. 18 years married in August, and the 3 best kids I could hope for. I wouldn't be here without them. Every computer class that all I had to do was typing. It was infuriating. My senior year, I took another computer class at the start of the year because my principal wouldn't let me have a free period. First day in class, the teacher said we're going to do typing. I asked if I could be excused from it. I know how to type. Teacher walks over with a book and says to type this page. I type it. 90 words per minute, 100% accuracy. I played Sim City 2000 the rest of the semester. Over the course of 2 days in 2nd grade, a girl wearing a white dress had diarrhea during class, and it was leaking down her leg, and I just felt so bad for her. She never lived that down. The next day, a kid was fooling around with a metal clothes hanger and stuck it right through the palm of his hand. I can still see his red face bawling as he was escorted to the nurse. My school let our Year 10 class go to the gym the other end of town during our 2-hour PE lesson. I was in the changing room with my friends, and there was a shopping trolley in there. I don't know why. So I got in, and my friend proceeded to full power throttle it at the lockers, and I got launched out on the floor when the trolley crashed and tipped over. I'm lying on the ground like what just happened, and one of my other's friends pulls out a hairbrush and starts brushing my hair whilst singing, and then I'll brush and brush his hair, from the Disney Tangled song, When Will My Life Begin? It was a weird day. The time my 8th grade math teacher walked in on me and my best friend in a bathroom stall as she was adjusting my belt for me. I'll never forget the horrified look on her face. Good times. In 8th grade, me and my friends were little brats. And one time we got these two dudes to fight because we took one of their socks and blamed it on another dude. But the most memorable is when me and my friend were laughing at a joke I told and we're peeing. My laugh causes my wiener to go everywhere, and so does my pee. It goes everywhere, and on my friend's shoes, he says, "Aim your D, Isaac." And then he starts laughing and he starts peeing on my shoes. Good times. I had this friend who was in the year above me. She was always being bullied, so I used to walk her out of class to the library to meet our other friend. This bee, who I'll call Hoy, walked past us with one of her own friends and started to cough words like slut and slag at my friend, so I just smiled at them and said, "We know you are." They were speechless. I heard Hoy say something like, "Come here, you little twat," but she muttered it to herself while walking away. My friend looked super relieved and was smiling nervously, telling me that her heart was racing and that she was impressed that I stood up to the girls like that. She then expressed worry that I would get beaten up by them. Never did. Those girls wouldn't mess with creepy pale vampire trenchcoat girl. We reached the library and met my other friend. Do you know what my grateful friend did? She ran straight to the other friend, hugged her tightly, borderline cried into her chest, and told her that I had insulted Hoy and now I was going to get her beaten up and it was all my fault for pissing Hoy off. Luckily, my other friend heard my side of the story and we're still good friends to this day. Don't speak to the other one, though. I'll never forget that complete act of being two-faced. I would have killed to have a friend stick up for me like I did for her. For the record, Hoy never beat her up. So I was at school sitting on the first row to pay attention, but we were having maths. I was 14 to 15-year-old at the time, and the teacher was this old man, and I mean old. He did teach math to my dad when he was a kid. He even had to take like a week off because he had a surgery, would go buy something sweet because he was low in sugar, or inject himself some medicine so he wouldn't die on the classroom probably. Specifically that day I was sitting alone and struggling to solve a problem, never really understood his way of teaching. I passed at grades math cheating, then he comes up to me and starts chatting to me a little bit. Then out of a blue he brings to the conversation that he couldn't do sports since he was young. I was like, okay. He said he had for some reason to get his toes from one of his feet amputated and puts his foot on top of a chair and told me to touch it, to show me that he in fact didn't have toes there. Of course he was wearing shoes, and I didn't know what to do, so I touched his shoes and said, "Oh, is true," and acted like it never happened. But I can't forget it. I'll cheat, just like I did in school, with two memories, the best and the worst. Worst first, get it out of the way. But implanted in the now old memory bank forever. During a race riot in our high school, saw a friend get pushed out of a 2-story window. Lucky he landed in some bushes, but still was pretty messed up. Best memory is of my girlfriend, and I always smooching a bit to say goodbye after lunch break to go to our different classes. Some yards away as I turned and walked away her, there was these 3 or 4 other girls I knew who'd always laugh and smile at me. I didn't think nothing much of it, girls you know, until the time one of them told me, "Chrome, you know how we're always looking at you after kissing your girlfriend? It's because of that bulge in your jeans you always have as you walk away from her, shit." Well, during my senior year of high school I got really depressed. I had transferred schools the year before, and as a very introverted person I didn't make a whole lot of friends at my new school. But there were these 2 guys who were best friends since like elementary school that I started hanging out with because one of them was a friend involved in the same club I was in. I had been convinced to join by the one friend I had there. Anyway, I will never forget the trip the 3 of us went on to Washington, D.C. over spring break of that year. We all just hopped in the car, drove there through the night, and spent a week there with the goal of interacting with everyone we could and also seeing as much cool shit as we could. It was the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. To this day, I am friends with both of them, though I see one much more because one of them joined the army. A friend of mine went around the hall with his hands cupped around his crotch, and he'd asked people if they wanted to see a bird's nest. People would look at his cupped hands only for him to reveal his nut sack in his hand. A strict teacher ended up catching him and grabbed him to drag him down to the office with his butt sack hanging out of pants. Effing classic. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Also check out our other videos and have an amazing day.